I heard that my wife's junior is about to pass away, and his only wish is to marry her. The moment she agreed, I informed the system, please disconnect me from this world. Kelly Parker had already asked for a divorce twice, and I failed to make it to the civil affairs office both times. Now, lying on the operating table as a terminal patient, she, as the lead surgeon, was horrified and desperate. How could it be you? What crushed her even more was knowing that according to the system's design, I was going to die in her hands, leaving her with eternal guilt. Kelly, a renowned surgeon known for her skillful hands, is always busy. So busy that she only notified me of the divorce through WhatsApp. Find time to finalize the divorce. I looked at the cold dishes on the table, the edges of the cream cake starting to melt, much like our relationship, which had crumbled after 10 years, from school uniforms to wedding attire. I called her several times, but it took until the fourth call for her to pick up. Her voice was indifferent. What's the matter? I was busy just now. Instinctively, I thought she was in surgery and wanted to apologize. But then I heard a man's soft laughter on the other end. The clothes are off. Come quickly. Blood rushed to my head. Kelly, we're not divorced yet, are we? She calmly replied, you misunderstood. I was giving Oscar's dog a bath. I closed my eyes, my nails digging into my flesh. Kelly, if we divorce, I will disappear. This is the system setting, and no one can change it. She didn't say anything, but I heard movement on her end. She must have gone somewhere else to take the call. Then she lowered her voice. Alexander Smith, I've explained this many times. It's just a ceremony. Once we fulfill his wish, we'll remarry. Why do you always threaten me with disappearing? She asked. When she calls me by my full name, I know she's angry. Seeing that I didn't respond, her breathing grew heavier. She once told me that what annoyed her most was my silence. Alexander, be rational. I sneered. You're at Oscar's house late at night, talking to me about rationality? Isn't that funny? After all, legally, she's still my wife. There was a long sigh, then she coldly pierced my heart with her words. Friday morning, let's finalize the divorce. I scooped a bite of cream into my mouth, and bitterness spread across my tongue. Funny, she remembered to bathe Oscar's dog, but forgot it was my birthday today. Maybe her heart had already left, and her memories followed. System, can you sing a birthday song? I asked. I can't. I can only sing a funeral dirge. I chuckled. Then forget it. Save it for when I die. Disconnect me from this world. If I leave, I can return to the original world. In that world, though I won't have a healthy body, I'll have a family who loves me and friends. I miss the rice noodle rolls downstairs, the beef soup at the old market, and of course, my dad's warm clay pot porridge. Here, I'm the one who cooks for Kelly. Because she's a doctor, her hands are vital for her patients and herself. But when I saw Oscar's post on social media, I broke down. Her well-proportioned hands I had protected so carefully, were peeling shrimp for him with such tenderness. The caption read, "The golden hand only peels shrimp for me." It made all my past efforts seem like a joke. Host, aren't you going to try harder? No, I replied. My heart is dead. From the moment she decided on the divorce, the task of winning her back was doomed to fail. It's just a matter of dying sooner or later, so why not free myself sooner? The system sighed softly. Autonomous disconnection will be somewhat painful, but the good news is, you can choose your method of death. I thought it over seriously and smiled faintly. Kelly never believed I would disappear. Then let me die at the hands of her miracle hands. I guess her expression at that moment will be quite something. I couldn't make it to the civil affairs office on Friday to get a divorce. As the disconnection procedure began, my body quickly showed symptoms of decline, with an extremely low immune system. I developed a fever, and my lips cracked from dehydration. I instinctively called out, "Sammy, water." In the past, whenever she was home, I could always drink water at just the right temperature. I had grown used to her accommodating me in small things. But when I opened my eyes, I remembered that she had already moved out. The day she agreed to marry Oscar, she had said, "He's my teacher's son. For the sake of my teacher, I have to take care of him. He's almost dead. It's just a wedding ceremony. Be generous." That day, I stared at her, dazed. If it's just a ceremony, why do we need to get a divorce certificate? She lowered her gaze, her face pale and cold with a hint of frost. "We can't let him be the third party, can we?" she asked, her voice betraying uncertainty. "Yes, we aren't officially divorced, so that would make him the third party," I replied, realizing she had intended this whole thing to be an act. I stared at her blankly. "Kelly, if we divorce, I will never remarry you." She froze for a moment, then dropped her suitcase and grabbed my arm desperately. What did you say? If you're not with me, who will you be with? Her words stung, a painful reminder that I was truly alone in this world. She was the only family I had, yet she was the one walking away. Her grip on me tightened, her distress evident, but I pushed her away with patience. Let go. You were the one who didn't want me. She didn't listen, throwing herself into my arms, tears welling up in my eyes as I thought of our 10 years together. Alex, don't feel bad. If you're sad, I'll feel even worse. She kissed me, moving from my lips to my neck, trying to comfort me in the only way she knew. She told me she was an orphan and how her teacher had helped her a lot growing up. She explained that Oscar was just a younger brother, and I believed her. After all, he was terminally ill, wasn't he? But then, a week later, I went to visit her at the hospital with some nutritious soup. As I passed the parking lot, I saw Oscar sitting in the driver's seat, the windows rolled down. Kelly was standing outside, looking graceful in her white coat. She bent down and kissed him, and it felt like a bucket of cold water splashed over me. I watched numbly as she affectionately rubbed his head, telling him to go home and rest. He put on his sunglasses and drove off. All I could think was how familiar it all was. She used to do that with me. And now, I couldn't help but wonder, was it just sympathy and responsibility? Had her heart already moved on while she remained with me, rationalizing her drifting toward another man? No wonder she was eager to get a divorce. That day, I threw the soup into the trash, along with the heart that had once loved her completely. Feverish, I lay in bed, the phone ringing incessantly. I struggled to answer, hearing Kelly's irritated voice on the other end. Can you be more punctual? I've been waiting for you for half an hour. I weakly responded, I have a fever. Can we reschedule? My whole body felt drained, and I couldn't even summon the strength to get out of bed. How could I go? She chuckled softly on the other end, her voice laced with annoyance. Did you forget? I'm a doctor. With your constitution, how could you have a fever? You're 28, not a little boy like Oscar. Stop being childish. Frustrated, I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. You might not know this, but the little boy you're talking about is only 2 years younger than me. She used to call me that all the time, but now, maybe she was just tired of me. It didn't matter. I had already lost any hope. The second time we were supposed to divorce, I didn't make it again. Something unexpected happened on my way out. A 2-year-old girl, wearing a McDowell jumper, rushed out into the street, searching for her father. A speeding car lost control at the corner. Without thinking, I shoved her toward the safety zone. There was a loud crash, and I felt like I was about to shatter. The driver didn't stop, he just sped away. As I turned to look, the license plate flashed in my mind. It was Oscar's car. The little girl was scooped up by her frantic family, crying out, "Uncle! Uncle is hurt." I could only feel excruciating pain. Pain so deep, it felt like my organs were being crushed. But there was no blood, as I had expected. System, am I going to die? I thought, a sense of regret washing over me that things hadn't gone as planned. But in the end, saving that little girl made me feel like there was no regret. The system paused for a moment before replying in a calm tone. Congratulations, you won't die until your designated death date. The symptoms of the car accident won't fully manifest until then. Then, the system awkwardly added, this is a benefit I fought for you. Somehow, I found the system's tone endearing. A smile crept across my face. Great. Let's see how Kelly reacts when she sees what her new husband has done to me. The little girl's father and grandmother stood around me. Her father, with tears in his eyes, said, "You saved our baby. You saved our whole family." They almost knelt in front of me. Despite insisting that I was fine, they insisted on taking me to the hospital, practically forcing me into their car. How can you be fine? Her father asked, his voice thick with emotion. The car's bumper was dented inward. How can someone be tougher than a car? I had no choice but to inform Kelly. I was in a car accident. We'll have to reschedule. I didn't expect to end up at the hospital where Kelly worked. Let me check the test results. I heard her familiar voice from above. Kelly stormed in like a whirlwind, her forehead damp with sweat as if she had just rushed back. Another doctor patted her shoulder. "Dr. Parker, don't worry, he's fine. Before the system set death date, no instruments can detect any issues with his body." Kelly carefully reviewed the reports. When she looked up, her eyes were sharper, filled with an unfamiliar intensity. No external or internal injuries. What kind of car accident was this? "Alex, you've missed 2 appointments already. What are you playing at?" I folded my hands. I was in a car accident. By the way, it was your new husband who hit me and fled the scene. Without thinking, she frowned and retorted, "Impossible. Oscar is very honest. He wouldn't do something like that." "So, you think I'm lying?" I snapped. The silence that followed was thick, and she realized with a start that she trusted Oscar more than me. In my mind, I asked the system, "Will he get caught?" The system replied confidently, "Yes. This world still operates under the rule of law." That put my mind at ease. Let the law handle her innocence. If it weren't for the system protecting my life, that impact should have killed me instantly. Kelly was only involved with a hit-and-run criminal. I glanced at my watch. "Kelly, let's go to the police station. I don't have much time left." She shoved her hands into her pockets and spoke indifferently. "What do you mean, you don't have time?" "I'm dying. 3 days from now at 4 in the afternoon." I had once asked the system, "Is there any significance to this time?" 10 years ago, at 4 in the afternoon, is when you two met. So it begins, and it ends the same. Kelly looked out the window, her tone impatient. "Alex, you should go see a psychiatrist." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Kelly, the one with the problem is you. Wanting everything at once. A pretentious coquette. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. "Haven't you been eating well? You've lost weight." "None of your business." Just as I was about to refuse, her phone vibrated. I saw Oscar's name on the screen. Kelly instinctively let go of my wrist. He was on the other end, whining about a nightmare, asking her to comfort him. Kelly softly reassured him, her voice tender. She glanced at me, then said to him, I'll be back soon." After hanging up, a brief hesitation flickered across her face. "Alex, you should eat." I sneered inwardly. Was it really a nightmare? Or was it guilt and fear from hitting someone? Serves him right. Kelly chose him again, missing what could have been our last meal together. I wondered if she'd regret it when she thought back on it, during the final countdown of my life. Lying on the cold operating table, waves of pain racked my body, as if my organs were being shredded. It was unbearable, but I could endure it. Soon, I'd be able to go back and have my father's warm clay pot porridge again. Kelly's angry voice still echoed in my mind. "Alex, do you really think I have no temper? Oscar is about to die. Can't you be more generous?" I had missed 3 appointments, and yet she still didn't believe me when I told her I was dying. 10 minutes later, Kelly entered the operating room, dressed in her surgical gown, her face expressionless. This surgery wasn't originally hers, but the system had set it up so that no matter who started, she would be the one to finish it. "System, what is my terminal illness?" I asked. "A tumor surgery. Kelly's golden specialty," came the reply. The system's tone was almost gleeful as I lay there, the anesthetic already taking effect. Kelly was getting ready, though her assistant couldn't help but ask, "Dr. Parker, are you okay?" They knew who I was and had privately admired Kelly's strength. Dr. Parker is really strong. Anyone who can operate on her own husband is ruthless. But Kelly, completely unaware of the situation, was about to perform surgery on me, her husband, whom she had just argued with less than an hour ago. With the scalpel handed to her, she expertly made a 16-centimeter incision on my abdomen. The tumor surgery itself wasn't unusual for her. It wasn't a particularly complex procedure in her hands. Even though the surgery had a very low success rate and was very difficult, she was in control due to her years of experience. However, accidents are uncontrollable, and unexpectedly, she noticed a faint pink scar near the incision. Kelly froze mid-slice, and the assistants exchanged confused glances. It was unusual, especially with the skin already exposed. Kelly, seemingly in a daze, stood there silently. I knew the reason. That scar was familiar to her. It was the scar I had gotten when I saved her from a patient who had wielded a knife during a chaotic moment in her early residency. She had been just a young doctor, but she had always been kind and caring. When I saw her in danger, I pushed her out of the way, and the knife stabbed into me instead. Kelly had covered my wound, her hands soaked in blood, and helped me to the emergency room. Back then, she had told me, "I would rather have died myself than see you bleed." I had smiled and reassured her, asking, "Then will you treat me better from now on?" She kissed my earlobe and replied, "I'd give you my life if you asked for it." Now, here she was, standing over me, a surgeon with the same hands that had once held me in such a tender way. The assistant's voice snapped her back to the present. "Dr. Parker, is there something wrong?" She ignored the question, taking a few hurried steps forward. She ripped the surgical drape off my face and gasped, her expression filled with horror and despair. "How could it be you?" I couldn't respond. The anesthesia had fully taken hold, and I slipped into unconsciousness, feeling a chill as the disconnect procedure reached its final stages. Pain surged through my body, but I knew the end was near. Kelly's voice trembled as she whispered, "Alex, you can't die. I won't let you die." She wanted to touch me, but she hesitated, afraid of causing a bacterial infection. The assistants were stunned. They hadn't realized the patient under the scalpel was Dr. Parker's own husband. But professionalism quickly kicked in, and they turned their attention back to the surgery. The system's cold voice echoed in my mind. This is probably the most torturous surgery Kelly has ever performed. With only a 5% success rate, anyone would be nervous. As she picked up the scalpel again, Kelly's fingers trembled, but she quickly suppressed it. Her years of training steadied her, and she carried on with the surgery. Continue administering aesthetic. The tumor shows signs of spreading with partial detachment and significant bleeding. Use embolization to block the blood vessels. Keep separating adhesions and remove the diseased tissue. Despite the challenges, Kelly's reputation as one of the most skilled surgeons was apparent. The surgery was a success, temporarily at least. I had 2 hours before my disconnect time arrived. Afterward, I was moved to the observation room, where the medical team monitored me. Kelly, calm and collected, took a deep breath, confident the procedure had gone well. It was just me and her in the room now, and the silence between us felt heavier than ever. She leaned in and whispered, "I never thought these hands would ever operate on Alex." The aesthetic began to wear off, and I felt the familiar pain returning, but I knew the system's settings would protect me for now. I opened my eyes and spoke sarcastically. I never thought these hands would ever be used to peel shrimp for someone else. In this world, like her, I'm also an orphan. I earn my tuition bit by bit. I remember when we first graduated. We were so poor we couldn't afford a washing machine. The winters down south were damp and bitterly cold. Every time I washed clothes, my fingers turned red from the chill, but I never let her do it even once. "Don't bother," she replied. "Your hands are meant to hold surgical tools and save lives." "Alex, do you have a filter for doctors?" "Yes, in the original world, it was a doctor who saved my life." "All right, I won't let you down." The room was eerily quiet, the only sound the soft exchange between us. My words seemed to choke her, and it took a while before she sighed. "Alex, Oscar is about to die. Can you not hold a grudge against him?" I chuckled bitterly. "I'm about to die too, so why shouldn't I hold a grudge?" Her face darkened, but she tried to brush it off. "You won't die," she said, though her voice trembled slightly. "Don't you trust my skills?" Realizing I was now the patient, her tone softened. "When did you get this illness?" "The day you said you wanted a divorce, and you didn't believe I would disappear." She struggled to respond, shifting topics. "I know you don't like scars, so I made sure the incision would be as neat as possible. The scar will be minimal." I didn't reply, and the silence that followed made her uneasy. She seemed about to say something more when a nurse entered, announcing, "Dr. Parker, your phone's been ringing nonstop." "I need to take this call," Kelly said, her voice strained. When she returned, her expression was off. "Alex, I have something urgent to attend to. The nurse will look after you." I knew exactly what she was doing. Her plan had been to divorce me in the morning and marry Oscar in the afternoon. "Dr. Parker, you really know how to manage time so well," I said bitterly. "I have less than 2 hours left in this world. Are you sure you don't want to say goodbye?" Honestly, I didn't want to spend more time with her either. If she stayed, I would have seen it as her final act of sincerity to our years together, and I would have reciprocated accordingly to ease her guilt. But she didn't stay. She stood up, as energetic and graceful as ever, even after hours of surgery. The emotional breakdown she had when she discovered the patient was me had completely vanished. "Alex," she said, her tone calm and professional, "once you recover, I'll arrange an appointment for you with the psychiatric department." I sneered, "Dr. Parker, I hope you won't regret this." She looked at me indifferently and smiled lightly. "I won't." "Alex, you need rest," she added before leaving, her phone urging her to hurry. I knew Oscar was probably waiting for her, his wedding guests already gathered. I felt an odd sense of peace. "Kelly, this was your choice." Once she left, I heard the system sigh in my mind. She missed her last chance. I was surprised. "System, you regret it?" "You're a kind person," the system replied. "I try to give you a chance to live well. If she had chosen you today, the surgery's success could have been ensured." I smiled faintly. "System, did you forget? Even if she stayed, I couldn't have lived. Oscar killed me when he hit me with his car." The system went silent for a moment. "Yes, I know. Do you want to know why Oscar was speeding that day?" the system asked. "He was rushing to pick up Kelly from the airport." "That's right. It was the day she returned from her business trip. He was hurrying to meet her because she was about to divorce me. I sighed, feeling the weight of the truth. Even if I hadn't been in the car accident and the surgery was successful, I wouldn't want her anymore. You don't love her anymore? The system asked. No, I replied. Why? Aren't you the system? How could you not know? The system hesitated. Well, sometimes even a system has oversights. I smiled sadly. Oscar's house doesn't have a dog. The system was stunned. But Kelly said both her teacher and her junior were allergic to animal hair. How could they have a dog at home? I nodded grimly. So, that night when she said they were bathing a dog, it wasn't true. Her emotional and physical distance from me had already happened. She deceived me calmly. The system cursed. What a scumbag. Let her drown in her guilt. Just then, the system's voice turned cold. The patient is hemorrhaging. Tissue infection has set in. The heart has stopped. Initiate artificial heart-lung support. Prepare ECMO. And just like that, the final moment arrived. How did the patient's heart, liver, spleen, and lungs rupture? I had already completed the disconnection. My soul floated above, watching as my life slowly slipped away. Why can't we reach Dr. Parker by phone? We got through once, but the call was hung up. I asked the system, do you know who hung up? Oh, this is interesting. It was Oscar, the system responded, almost sounding entertained. Come on, host. This system will take you to the wedding. The system's tone was becoming oddly affectionate. Before leaving, I took one last look at my body on the operating table. The injuries from the car accident had fully manifested. Was it really this severe? My entire body was shattered, with my arm and left leg twisted in unnatural positions. They had to be broken. How pitiful. At least I managed to push that little girl out of the way. She was so cute, so adorable. Thank goodness she's okay. Watching someone else's wedding turned out to be surprisingly interesting. Flowers piled high, colorful balloons floated around, creating a scene of happiness. But it was stolen happiness. System, the red wine on the long table looks good. Host, you seem happy. Do I need to remind you this is your wife's wedding? I wrinkled my nose. Because I'm about to go home, of course I'm happy. As for Kelly, she can't affect my mood anymore. When I first realized she was drifting away, I felt depressed and resentful. I even doubted myself. Sleepless nights followed, with my mind replaying images of her holding his hand, laughing, kissing, even embracing him in bed. The world I had once protected collapsed. Eventually, I realized how foolish it was to punish myself for a woman who had changed her heart. What I needed to do was find opportunities to live in the sunlight again. Host, look, there's the scumbag. Kelly appeared on the lawn in a white wedding dress. She was gentle, beautiful, elegant, poised. The groom, handsome too, with a graceful demeanor. There was no sign of panic in his eyes, even though he had killed someone just days ago. I slowly floated next to Kelly and overheard her quietly ask Oscar, "Where's my phone?" Oscar's eyes flickered for a moment. "It's in the dressing room. I kept it for you." The perfectly tailored wedding dress couldn't fit a phone. Did I miss any calls? I think there was one. Oscar hesitated. Should I get it? But the wedding is about to start. Kelly paused. No need, she said calmly, turning her gaze forward. I wondered if she remembered our wedding. We were so poor, we could only afford silver rings, but we were so happy. Alex, do you regret marrying a poor girl like me? No. Dr. Parker is a rising star. Later, I bought her a big diamond ring, but she never seemed as happy as before. Alex, my junior is sick and dying. Can I fulfill one of his wishes? He's only 26, so pitiful. Sammy, you should go. Alex, his wish is to marry me. I froze. Kelly, that's an unreasonable wish. But he's dying. Dying doesn't mean he can steal someone else's wife, someone else's love. Sammy, this wish is immoral. That day, she stood on the balcony for a long time. Finally, in a voice as cold as ice, she said, Alex, you've changed. You're not as kind as you used to be. Then she left me, alone in a room full of silence. Kelly, did you forget? I'm most afraid of being alone. I sat in the empty living room, turning on every light, but it still felt like something was missing. In the end, I buried my face in my arms, curling up into a ball. It wasn't me who had changed. Kelly, it was you. When she was with Oscar, I called her. My stomach hurts. Kelly, my stomach hurts. That day, she was with Oscar at the top of the Ferris wheel. They say that kissing there symbolizes love and eternity, but I didn't have a stomach ache. I was just standing at the bottom, watching them sit closely together. My heart shattered. Kelly knew my body well. When she answered the phone, her voice was cold. Alex, I'm a surgeon, not a gastroenterologist. In that moment, I felt like dying. When someone can't even tolerate your occasional childishness, it's clear they don't love you anymore. Love, or the lack of it, is always unmistakable. System, is it almost time for the ring exchange? That diamond ring is really shiny. It must have cost a lot. The system sounded almost amused by my thoughts. Host, shouldn't you be more concerned about when the police will arrive? What's the rush? Let them be happy for a little longer. That way, when the truth comes out, it'll hurt even more. Oscar smiled at Kelly. Senior, I've liked you for a long time. Today, this wish of mine finally comes true. Kelly's expression was a little off. Her eyes lowered, and she seemed distracted, maybe remembering our wedding day. She had said the same thing to me. Alex, marrying you. This wish has finally come true. The irony was that today, she left me in the hospital to fulfill someone else's wish. She probably had just taken off our wedding ring not long ago. I could still see the faint mark on her finger, but I didn't have one. The wedding ring I had once cherished so much was thrown away the day she agreed to marry Oscar, never to be retrieved. At that moment, Kelly delicately picked up the diamond ring to place it on Oscar's finger. Suddenly, several uniformed police officers burst through the flower arch. The system sounded excited. Oh, the show's about to start. Do you need some sunflower seeds? Ahem, host, don't forget I'm on duty right now, the system teased. I almost laughed. Oscar, you've been reported for hit and run. Oscar's lips trembled uncontrollably, and like a drowning man, he tightly clutched Kelly's hand. I didn't. The police, used to denials, remained calm. Surveillance footage shows that on the 11th of this month, at 2:10 p.m., you were driving. You hit a person on Boulevard Road and fled the scene due to speeding. The victim was a young man. Kelly's fingers trembled. She was sharp enough to realize that the person Oscar was supposed to pick up that day was her. Kelly's face grew grim as she pulled her arm away from Oscar and stepped back. She stared at him fiercely. You switched cars to pick me up that day because you had hit someone with the original car. Oscar began to shake. Kelly couldn't help herself. She grabbed his collar forcefully. Did you hit Alex? Oscar stammered. Senior, let go. I don't know. It's impossible. There were no cameras there. The police calmly replied. The cameras were installed the day before. One more thing, they added. You're also under suspicion of purchasing forged medical records and will need to cooperate with the investigation. Oscar's face instantly drained of color. He no longer had the strength to argue. He collapsed like a rag doll as the police escorted him away. What awaited him was the judgment of the law. The guests in the crowd began to murmur in outrage. What a disgrace, getting arrested on your wedding day. He seemed so honest and simple, but he hit someone and ran. That's cold-hearted. He wasn't even sick. He bought fake medical records to pretend to be terminally ill and trick us into pitying him. That's despicable. Isn't the bride supposed to be a top doctor? How could she not notice? Kelly couldn't possibly not hear this. At that moment, it was as if she had been slapped across the face. Host, did Kelly really not notice? I smiled. Maybe she just didn't want to notice. She wanted to be the dragon-slaying warrior who saved the prince, but she didn't realize she was the dragon. The system huffed indignantly. What a new breed of scumbag woman. Kelly went to retrieve her phone from the dressing room. Unfortunately, it was dead with a black screen. She quickly turned and ran toward the parking lot, so frantic that she tripped along the way. She floored the gas pedal, speeding toward the hospital. Host, she seems to have run several red lights. Well, she can look forward to having her license revoked. She bit her lip, still wearing her wedding dress, as she rushed all the way to the hospital room. Where's Alex? Where's Alexander? The nurses were frightened by her frantic appearance. Dr. Parker, there's no Alexander here. How could there be no one? Are you sure you did your job properly? Fortunately, her assistant stopped her in time. Mumbling, he spoke up. Sister Parker, there really is no Alexander here. Normally calm and composed in her work, Kelly was now losing her mind and her composure. That's impossible. Where did he go then? Alexander is in the morgue. Kelly staggered. She grabbed her assistant by the collar. That's not possible. He was fine just a while ago. The surgery was successful. What nonsense are you talking about? On the way to the morgue, with every word her assistant spoke, Kelly's face grew paler. His internal organs looked like they were shattered by a strong impact. Kelly stood there, muttering to herself, impossible. The surgery was a success, but the assistant had no choice but to speak the harsh truth. Sister Parker, the sutures you made, they all tore open. The intestines, they spilled out. Kelly's legs seemed to buckle under the weight of the news, her body heavy with shock, and the tumor spread, invading the surrounding tissues. These words struck her heart like a sledgehammer. Her surgery had failed. The very hands that were once considered capable of performing miracles had faltered. Though she remained composed on the outside, her face was drenched in cold sweat, betraying her inner turmoil. When did he? She stuttered. When did he pass? 1 hour after you left, the assistant replied. You were at the wedding, your wedding with Oscar, while your husband was slipping away. Kelly hesitated, her fingers trembling as she reached for the white sheet covering my body. Her hands shook uncontrollably, as though she were paralyzed by the grief. Lift it, please, I thought, knowing it would complete the system's process and I could finally go home. With a final breath, she pulled the sheet off. The sight of my body shattered before her. At first, Kelly was calm. She stroked my face tenderly, before lifting my hand to her lips. Alex, get up, come on, let's go home. But no answer came. The room fell silent. She clung to my body, her mind unraveling. Alex, answer me, please. Get up. Let's go home, she pleaded, her tears falling onto my neck. The system spoke, its voice tinged with discomfort. Host, this is making your body dirty. Almost there, I thought, enduring the moment. Just a few more hours. After a while, the hospital staff convinced Kelly to leave. A surgeon of her caliber couldn't be seen losing her composure in a morgue. As she prepared to leave, she asked, Did Alex say anything before he? He did, the assistant replied, his voice soft. He said, Congratulations on your wedding. I hope we never meet again. Kelly froze, her eyes wide. She collapsed to the ground, the loud thud of her knees hitting the floor echoing through the room. She quickly stood, disregarding the pain, and limped out. I want to go home, she whispered. Back at our old house, Kelly used the key to unlock the door. The apartment was dark, only the city lights casting shadows on the walls. She fumbled for the light switch, but the house felt unfamiliar, hollow. It had always been my job to leave the lights on for her, waiting on the couch when she came home. Alex? She called out, but there was no response. Suddenly, a noise came from the bedroom. Kelly rushed inside, but it was empty, just the sound of a picture frame crashing to the floor. She stood in the room, dazed, as the emptiness of the house surrounded her. It felt like a place that had never truly been lived in, like a model home. Host, you did a great job, the system remarked. I had left no room for her to dwell on memories. Everything of mine had been either thrown out or donated. The pictures in the frames only showed her half, even the wedding photo split in half, her side torn on the floor. Kelly slid down the wall, drained, as if the weight of her actions and the emptiness of the house had drained her of everything. She clutched her head in her hands, much like I had when I first learned of her betrayal. Curled up in a corner, she couldn't seem to believe it, yet couldn't bring herself to accept it. 10 years, not just 10 days. At first, her sobs were soft, but they soon grew into anguished wails. Alex, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please come back, okay? I'm begging you, please come back. She likely forgot how she once told me, is it reasonable for a strong woman like me to cry? Now, she was anything but reasonable. A flash of white light filled the room. Host, goodbye, the system said. I knew it was time to leave. Host, will you forget me? Never. You're too adorable. System, thank you for being with me on this unique journey. Goodbye. Goodbye. I'm going home. Kelly hadn't stepped into the operating room for a while. The stress had started to take its toll on her. As soon as she entered the operating room, she thought she saw Alex lying there. Her instinct was to flee. Dr. Parker, are you really going to perform this surgery today? Yes, Kelly nodded to her assistant. Alex liked me being a doctor. How could I be a doctor if I don't perform surgeries? She managed a bitter smile and donned her surgical gown. Administer the anesthesia. Make a 15-centimeter incision. At first, everything went smoothly. Then, blood began gushing from the patient, and Kelly struggled to breathe. Cold sweat trickled down her temples. Her mind kept flashing back to Alex on the operating table. Alex in the morgue. The blood. So much blood. The blood from surgery, from years ago when Alex had taken a knife for her. Sammy, will you be nicer to me from now on? He had asked. Of course, I'd give you my life. Scenes shifted. Alex, pleading with helplessness, his words echoing in her mind. Sammy, after the divorce, I'll disappear. Alexander, stop using disappearing to force me, okay? You should see a psychiatrist. Alexander, you should see a psychiatrist. I'll arrange it. Kelly, the one who's sick is you. Yes, she was sick. They had worked so hard to build a life together, a home filled with warmth, a place where she could find solace. But perhaps the comfort had become monotonous, and the pressure of daily surgeries and her reputation left her searching for an escape. Then came Oscar, a fresh, vibrant presence in her life. He admired her, clung to her, and she couldn't shake him off. Many times, sitting in her car, she had thought, just indulge once, and then return to Alex. She was a doctor. How could she not notice Oscar's health condition? But she had chosen to ignore the warning signs. Ignorance is bliss. She pursued the divorce with Alex, believing it would quell the guilt, thinking she could avoid seeing herself as the one who had betrayed him. But now, her actions felt like a cruel trick, and in the end, she had fallen into the abyss, her life shattered beyond repair. That home with Alex? She could never return to it. Dr. Parker, what's wrong? Dr. Parker, the patient is hemorrhaging. It's spreading. This is bad. Later, hospital gossip would call it a cautionary tale. That surgery was a total failure. The lead surgeon ran out mid-operation, causing irreversible harm to the patient. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison. After Alex's death, Kelly was no longer the golden surgeon. She couldn't even practice medicine anymore, not as Alex's favorite doctor. When she was finally released from prison, it was the season of worship. She stood before Alex's grave, holding a bouquet. He liked lilies, she remembered. His grave was immaculate, as if someone often visited. The bright smile on his tombstone tugged at her heartstrings. He was still so young. Yet in these 3 years, she had aged as if 30 had passed, looking worn and haggard. As she reached for the photo on the gravestone, a small voice interrupted her. Don't touch, don't touch. You're not allowed to pay respects to my godfather. It was the little girl Alex had once saved. Go away, go away. You married another man and caused my godfather's death. You're not welcome here. Kelly gave a bitter smile. She hadn't expected Alex to be so ruthless, even denying her the chance to handle his funeral. Everything had been left to the little girl's family. As she walked out of the cemetery, Kelly felt numb, gazing up at the gray sky. It felt like the heavens were crying too. The rain came down in torrents, just like that summer when she was a graduate student and Alex was an undergrad. Senior, don't get wet. I have an umbrella. Alex had entered her world like that, gently, tenderly. By the time they reached the dormitory, his shoulder was soaked through, but she was dry. He had completely cared for her, never complaining. With a bright smile, he had said, "It's okay, Senior. I'm strong and healthy." He was so kind. How could she have the heart to scold him? How could she have let guilt grow into thick vines inside her heart, ultimately leading to this point? With a heavy thud, Kelly crumpled in the rain. Blood, vivid and red, mixed with the downpour, spreading across the ground. The knife Alex had once blocked for her all those years ago had returned, but this time, no one was there to stop it. She recognized the attacker, a family member of the patient from her last failed surgery. It was something she had earned, a consequence of her actions. She had fled the operating room, abandoning her patient, leading to the death of someone's beloved. Those who betray true love are often met with grim fates, just like hers. "Alex, will you come for me?" she whispered, but only the sound of the rain answered. After her death, she met the system. After much pleading, it finally agreed to let her see Alex. "This is because you were once a doctor and saved many lives." In the quiet of a peaceful evening, Kelly found herself watching Alex, who was peacefully napping in a wicker chair outside. His father's voice called from inside the house, "Alex, what's for dinner?" "Clay pot porridge, salt and pepper baby potatoes." "Gotta have those potatoes." "Got it, your favorite." Guilt began to swell inside Kelly's heart. She had never liked potatoes, but Alex had accommodated her for 10 years. He had adjusted to her, without her ever noticing. Kelly watched as Alex joyfully got up from the wicker chair and ran outside. "Hey, kid, stop stealing my lemons. They'll make you sour." "Brother, I'll make lemon tea for you. Want some?" "Sure." It was then that Kelly noticed something. Alex had only one healthy leg. The other was a prosthetic. "Brother, you only have one leg. How do you run so fast?" "Because I'm an alien with a bionic leg." He remained so optimistic, just like the Alex she remembered. Despite his physical imperfection, he never let it define him. He loved life, loved those around him, and was loved in return. By his father, his friends, the little girl he saved, even the cold system. But there was no love for her. He would never take her back. Kelly suddenly felt an overwhelming sadness, as she realized the depth of her solitude. Even in death, she remained utterly alone. News from her world broke the silence. Former Golden surgeon Dr. Parker was found dead outside her late husband's cemetery, with no one coming to claim her body. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.